I think there was always the need to have a look at how we're actually delivering high-performance rugby in this country. We've been tweaking and moving some elements of the system, but probably not to the extent or broad enough to really, bring on significant change.
We're going to really make sure that that's part of what we do here as a group, is make sure that we truly believe, and we will believe, that we can break through for winning pretty quickly.
People genuinely want to make a change, want to make a difference. It's come a time where we have the opportunity to start a seed project that's going to set down not only some short-term benefits, but definitely a long-term legacy for rugby in Australia.
The chairs of the AAU and the super teams coming together to basically give the remit down to us to say, go ahead and develop one national plan that can achieve winning across the board.
We haven't done this before. We haven't brought the high-performance leads from all the Super Rugby teams and the Wallabies together and then added in sevens. We're getting some agreement around standardising, some real key elements of the game, how we want it to be coached, how we want it to look on field. So the coaches right now are going through a whole set of core skills that they're going to unite on and agree on, and this is what we're going to deliver.
We all bring our intellectual property to the meetings around how we're doing things, and we're all in search of best practice. We're wanting to collaborate and share and learn from each other.
I think it's been a really good couple of days, knowing that you've got options or resources available to you. Guys like Mick Byrne, Steve Larkham, Nathan Gray, Michael Checker, knowing that they're keen to make the Brumbies be better, and they're keen to make, obviously, Australian rugby and the Wallabies better.
What we can't do is talk and not deliver, and we've got to be able to follow up. And once we all commit to making sure that this is a project that's a priority for us, and that it can be a win-win both for national, for state, Super Rugby teams, and also for our junior pathways, then there should be nothing holding us back from making this work.
Michael Checker, he said it can't just be talk, has to be delivery as well. One of the men behind that meeting, Fox Sports' very own Rod Kafer, welcome to you. Now, there's a lot of sort of management speak and coach speak, but what does it really mean to us laymen who are sitting there watching that? How's it going to look down the track, this plan?
I'm pleased, firstly, that you described yourself as a layman, and that's a fair assessment, Nick, of your own capabilities. But to be perfectly frank,
you're the guest. So what happens is, when you come on, you are polite.
Okay,
right?
Sorry, I got it.
Yeah.
No, it was a great opportunity to get very, very intelligent rugby people around the table and actually recognise this opportunity that collectively we can probably achieve more. And as Check said, there's been a lot of talk about that, but everyone's in the room for 2 days. Next week they're all going to be back together for a day. It's going to be an ongoing cycle where we actually try to unlock some of the capacity and potential that exists within Australian coaching.
So you're getting everyone from every different professional department under the branch of the Australian Rugby Union. Who is it in the end that decides what's most important and what direction everyone goes in?
Well, it ends up being, we think the best model for this is a meritocracy, which is a process of sharing information, collaborating and letting the best information determine what's going to be used. So it's not a case of dictating information, saying this is the way it has to be done. It's actually a case of going, what's best? Can we test it? Can we work and look at all the things that are available to us and then make a decision?
How does that work, though? Because you've got 4, as of next year, 4 Super Rugby teams, and they're trying to top the conference. They're trying to make the finals because it means more money in their coffers. So they're looking for all these little edges. So you're expecting them now to give up any of those advantages that they might seek over the other teams? Is it just going to be an open book?
Of course not. But as we look at the advantages within the game of rugby, everybody knows what everybody else does, really, except for the last 1 or 2%. Let them have the 1 or 2%. That's not relevant. What's important is that we get the thought process going, that if somebody shares information, that's a real healthy thing, because once it's out there, you've got to get better. You've got to keep evolving. You've got to keep innovating. We just haven't had enough of that. Holding it all tight together is not a process of getting better. Sharing and saying, I'm going to tell you because I know next week I'm going to be better.
So how do we, let's take it below that level, away from the professional game. How do we get the coaches that are coaching kids from the age of 10 or 7 all the way through to 17? Because in my opinion, I think the coaches at that level are the ones that are responsible for the current issues we have. There's coaches coaching far too much structure for kids, making a fun game a little bit too stressful for kids that are under the age of 15. How do we get the message down to these guys, the key things that are important to our game?
Well, we've got to create things that enable information to flow easily. And there's lots of ways we can do that. There's online resources. There's a whole range of, I mean, every university course in the world now is online. Why can't we get everything that we do into rugby online and share it universally across all the coaches in Australia?
So, Kaif, what's our marker? How do we see that this process is successful? Is it X amount of Super Rugby teams in the finals? Is it X amount of players from under 20s graduating into Super Rugby? Like, how do we see that this type of discussion, and because it is a huge step forward for Australian rugby, but how do we see that it's actually starting to succeed?
Yeah, well, there are any number of different measures along the way, but the measure has to be we start winning. We start winning at every level in the game. We start winning as a Wallaby. We start winning Bledisloe Cups. We win World Cups. We win under-20s championships. We have to start winning. We can't shy away from the fact that winning is the most important thing. And Mertz, that's what I think the All Blacks have done brilliantly over the years, is they've focused on what do we have to do to win. And in Australia, we've been a little bit shy of doing that.
I was just going to say to Mertz, I mean, we sort of talk about the centralised system in New Zealand. I'm not sure to what extent that is centralised, but what do you as a Kiwi, knowing how it works in New Zealand, make of what we're talking about here?
Well, I'm interested to know what the environment's like, because I think one of the strengths of the All Blacks recently has been their appetite to learn and not think they're there. And I think when you get these groups together, it's very easy for everyone to stand up and beat their chest, and it becomes a bit of a big dictatorship contest. And they say things rather than asking one another. Is there a culture of being willing to say, what can we do to help you? What do you think? You know, because that's, I think, important as well.
That is the critical element. How can we help each other? And Australian rugby's been terrible. When I say terrible, they haven't done it well over the years. Now's our opportunity to do it really well. I think it's there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how we can measure, or whether we can measure it sort of 12 months down the track and say this is working.
Wins, Nick, wins.